Dapple.
We'll call to order the meeting of the Utilities Committee for Wednesday, September 18th. If everyone please rise for the invocation and pledge to be led by Mr. Ken Dawson.
Thank you. Let us pray. Father, we come this evening again to give you thanks for all the blessings that you bestowed upon us. But Father, we also come and we ask that you look upon those, oh God, that are going through tragedy. Over in Colorado, God, with all the flood waters. And Father, we know about that because we understand the things that we've gone through in tragedies and situations dealing with hurricanes. We ask that you watch over them. Father, we ask that you bless them, oh God. And Father, we thank you that they would get the needed help. As we come tonight, oh God, we ask for your wisdom and your guidance as we handle the people's business. We consider it an opportunity to serve because you said that greater are those who serve, oh God, than those who desire to be served. Father, we pray for your wisdom and guidance tonight as we go forth with this utility meeting. We give you all the glory and praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Carla, show Councilman Turner is absent. He had a conflict tonight. If he gets finished with that other meeting, that he's going to try to make it over here. We have no chairs additions tonight. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on the agenda will be given 3 minutes to speak on that item when it comes up. You need to sign in with the secretary. Item number 5 is approval of the minutes from the August 26th meeting. Here, motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Sadler, second by Councilman Joseph. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Item 6 is an update on the Highway 7342 projects by Mr. Petty. Michael?
Okay, so not a whole lot new information to talk about tonight. With the Highway 73 project, things are moving forward. We haven't had any new hiccups or new issues on that project. We're still, as far as the overall project, still shooting for that June 2014 completion date, with the sewer coming in sometime before that. Right now we have the drawings and the specifications in from the consultant engineer on the treatment plant, and we are in process right now of getting 3 quotes through the purchasing department to go through the process to purchase that treatment plant for the project. So on 42, of course, we haven't that project hasn't begun construction yet. We're still working with DOTD on the letting of that project. Our consultant engineer had addressed all the questions and comments related to the bid. And right now we're working with DHH for the requirements that they need as far as the location of a treatment plant site for that project, and that's in the works right now. With right now no preliminary site, but we're moving in a positive direction.
Okay. Any, Mr. Dawson?
Yeah, just real quick, on the Darrow Hillryville project, that was a public meeting last night at the fire station in Darrow. I think it may have been 40, 50 residents in attendance. Of course, you attended to there, Councilman Johnson, as well as Councilman Turner. I think it was well attended. I think a lot of questions were answered. There will be another meeting that will be held to assist the residents in the area with filling out their application, and this is for the connection of the sewer if they qualify through the CDBG grant process.
President Martinez?
Yes, I think the 42 project, as we just recently heard tonight, was probably going to be delayed a little bit before letting till October. In the meantime, I'm going to meet with some owners of other systems in that area to see if there's a possibility that we could possibly work with them rather than putting a temporary system there to treat the 50 or so customers that we would be picking up. So I just wanted to kind of update you on that too. Might not be possible. We're going to continue looking for a site. I have someone in mind to go talk to, but if we can work it out with some of the other systems in the area, maybe we can do that and save some money.
And I think what we've got further on down the agenda may be an answer for that as well. So see how that goes when that comes up on the agenda. Anything else? Councilman Joseph?
Maybe for anyone in the, I know we had looked at the jail tanks or whatever. Are we still in the process of looking at them, repairing them, or using them, or whatever the update on that? I know it was on the list at one time. I don't know what the status is on it. I just hear you saying something about purchasing something, so.
Yeah, originally they did a scope to move the jail facility and the Darrow, or not there's a plant at Lamar Dixon, I'm sorry, that wasn't used, and the one at the jail that's not being used. And those two are going to be combined and moved to the 73 site. That was the original plan. And then come to find out, because of there wasn't really enough room to put both of the plants there, we had to narrow the size to it. When we did the RFQ to move, we did an RFQ originally to move those two plants because it was going to be more than $150,000 on that cost. Then we backed it down to moving just one. So we started looking at the cost associated with reconditioning the one, and our consultant also looked in the cost of getting a new one. So for a little bit more money and a lot more in a sooner time frame to meet the schedule of the Highway 73 project, it was kind of a no-brainer to go with a new one instead of reconditioning the old one and moving it. Because even with the cost that was, for the same amount of cost, it was going to do to move that and get a brand new one with warranty and all new parts. Even with the jail one, there may have been more stuff we would have had to replace to get it operational.
And even Councilman Joseph, the initial estimated cost of what we had budgeted for us, we were significantly less than that amount. So we were way, I think, probably 100,000 or so less than what the budgeted amount to do either project. The goal was to have it in place when they finish the storm drains. Because once they finish the storm drains on 73, you can no longer tie those tail lines to it. You have to go to a sewer system at that point. So this just made sure that we met those timelines for the process that they're doing on 73. And from my understanding, they're moving along quite rapidly and putting those storm drains in.
Okay. I just know the jailhouse, we had some system that we was
Right.
going to use, and tonight,
Sure.
that's all. I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, item 7 is a proposal on public meetings. Mr. David Eisen with GSA has that. What this kind of give a little prelude to what this is we've had we've done some public meetings, and in the next step of those public meetings, we've got together with the consultants and worked on what we thought we would need to move forward with the next phases of that, and we give them some preliminary information on what we thought we might want to see and how we could work together to make that kind of stuff happen. And so what David and them have put together is basically that information of what it would take to get it to us, and also a cost structure for that. So David, if you want to give us that update on that.
Yes, as you know, the public education campaign's been talked about quite a bit, and this is the cost that would be associated with doing that. As we have it structured, it'll educate all the residents of Ascension Parish about the current state of the sewer system within the parish and how the current practices have overloaded the natural systems. Where possible, FCC, who's cooperating with us on this endeavor, utilized the Ascension Parish IT department to reduce costs where they could. You'll see that there was a proposal issued by FCC on this, and they've included their potential number of meetings in this proposal. We also included costs for GSA and CDM to attend these meetings. We included costs to go to the initial planning meetings, the monthly public education meetings, council briefings, weekly communication team meetings, and the message development. We did not include our time to go to the community meetings because there was discussion about that a lot of those particular meetings would be handled by parish staff. So we did not include time for that from GSA and CDM. And we did not include time from us to perform educational outreach. That'll be handled directly from FCC. So you see our hours listed in that. It was minimal involvement from the engineering teams on this project team. Most of the effort is concentrated with FCC for that. So if there's any questions on it, I'll go over that. But FCC did submit a original public education plan in May, and I think you've all seen it previously, so.
Yeah, and kind of to preclude this too, when you get further down in the agenda, if everything goes forward with what we're going to talk about there, this kind of redirects our efforts as far as public education is concerned. So what I would like to have is a motion to take this under advisement, and we'll look at it. And once we get everything decided on the later parts of the agenda, we may revisit this and find out how we need to tweak this, or if we need to progress with it at all in order to move forward, and what would be the wishes of the Utilities Committee, administration, and entire council as far as the rest of this program.
I make the motion that we take this under advisement as a subcommittee.
Motion by Councilman Joseph. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Sadler. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's important, and we have time on this. Obviously, we're probably going to vote to go ahead and take it under advisement. But for the public watching out there, maybe, David, if you could spell out CDM, FCC, and abbreviations you've been
Yes,
throwing around today.
FCC is Full Circle Communications. It's a company that has done work with the Baton Rouge SSO program, very versed in this whole public education effort that's required to get this program off the ground.
And they submitted their proposal in May, you said.
Correct.
Okay. And CDM?
And CDM Smith is Camp Dresser McKee Smith, another team on our project team who's very versed in sewer and its design.
Just want to remind the public that may have not been watching months ago. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any objections to that motion? All right, take that under advisement. Number 8 is a task order of approval of task order 2, which was covering the public meetings that we had at the there was 3 of them. We had one at the Lamar Dixon, or actually 2, one at Lamar Dixon and one at Dutchtown High School, and then we had some assistance with another group that we went to. I don't see the paperwork on that. Ms. Carla, do we have that task order available? And what we'll be looking to do with this is to move that forward to the Finance Committee for approval, and from there to the full council. I think it was something where we were going to have to do a revision to the budget to cover this one. It's because the task order 1 was the original information that they put together that we had the 150 in, and I think this was beyond that, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Ken? That's why we have to.
Go to finance.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we move it to finance.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Kluwat, second by Councilman Joseph. Any discussion?
I mean, basically just move this here, and this bill is for $66,377.43. So just making sure that we
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
cover that.
Any other discussion? Any opposition? That motion is passed. Moving on to item number 9 is the lighting on state highways and the different lighting districts. Councilman Oliver Joseph.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, I'm just putting this out for discussion because I know out of the 7 lighting districts, 6 of them was on the West Bank side. And what it is the state have implemented a law that if you're on a state highway, you have to take get an engineering study report to install a light on it. And unfortunately, in my area, I have a lot of state roads in the lighting district, but the state highway is almost 20 to 30 feet away from the lighting pole. And to do an engineering study can range up between $3,000 to $5,000, and we just can't afford that in the lighting district. And so basically, I wanted the administration to see what they can do to help us, assist us. I know we have brought this up before, but need to act in some type of a motion or recommendation from administration to get with DOTD to see what they can do to solve this problem. I just have a bunch of residents that they want a light, and they've been paying this tax, and it's hard for me to tell them no.
Mr. President.
My suggestion would be to send a resolution to the delegation and ask them to either introduce a bill to say that, if it's past X amount of feet, that it does not require engineering. Now, we can determine that. I can talk to some of the engineers on staff and see if there would be a certain amount that would be something that would be acceptable. But I don't think if it's 30 feet from the road that you should have to engineer it and worry about it being a safety factor. So I think if we alert our delegation, our state delegation, about this law, and I mean, we can do that, but I think a resolution coming from the committee and the council would certainly help toward that goal and let them know what we're facing here and how much more it's costing.
Councilman Clue.
Yeah, I would like possibly somebody with maybe DPW, that deals with the roads. Check with our state. There's bound to be a lighting spec, okay? In the blue book, red book, which silver, whichever one they're using now. They've adopted the last one. That there should be a lighting spec, that it has to be so high up to keep from blinding people in the cars, and it has to be so many lumens, I'm sure there's a spec there. But
To me, if the light is not right on the road or within 15 feet of the road, you should be able to go ahead and do it without the engineering, and that's what I'm trying to see, is minimize the
It's more of a security light than it is for highway transportation.
yeah.
Exactly, that's all it is, really.
and that's what it is. Those kind of lights don't shine directly on the road. They kind of shine straight.
I mean, because I got a lot of areas in my district, should somebody decide a neighborhood, area wants, I got the same thing on some of the main highways, that I'm gonna run into the same problem, and it's gonna cost so much money, they went through a lot of bureaucracy to build the books, and build the specs. They should be able to give a simple spec that we can follow, not reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah, but they're requiring engineering for safety purposes, not for they've got specs, but they're making you engineer the project to make sure the safety risk. That's what it's all about.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
and the other thing is, Randy, in your situation, our lighting district have to face a road. If one of your constituents, or one of my constituents want to put a light inside, to turn it inside, they don't need it. But if you turn that thing to a road, according to this law here, it have to be engineered, a state road.
Yeah.
Councilman Satterley.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Kind of a follow-up to Councilman Joseph's comments, as well as Councilman Kluat. I do have problems with lighting, obviously, as I'm sure we all do in our different districts. So if it's our pleasure tonight to go with some sort of a resolution, will the actual state highways as well as the lighting districts be named in that resolution going forward, or is this, the item just says lighting on state highways and lighting districts, and that's rather.
I think it should be on any state highway, on any light.
So we would be asking from what I'm hearing from the president, we would be asking the state to light it up parish-wide.
No.
State,
no,
if
no,
we
no.
decide we're gonna light it up, like the lighting districts that they do, they have money to do so, because the people pay taxes in those areas.
Oh, okay.
To do so, to give us some sort of reasonable, if the light is 30 feet from the highway, as Mr. Joseph is explaining, it shouldn't need to be engineered unless it becomes a danger to that road.
But if it's engineered, we would be the responsible party for the,
Well, the lighting district has to
Lighting
pay for
district.
everything.
The lighting
Yeah.
district would be responsible.
okay.
Yeah, the people I don't think anybody, recently we've had any new lighting districts, but in the past, people voted to put lights on streets and public places and pay a tax on it. We have lighting district 6, I think, on this side, and the rest of them are actually on the west bank. So they pay a monthly, they pay a tax, a millage, and then that money goes toward lighting the streets and public places in their district.
Okay, it's taking this old bird a little while to grasp this. So, Mr. Joseph, you're talking about problems that exist that just aren't being addressed.
Well, I think,
We've tried to address it, but it just like it's not getting handled. So I'm just going another way of doing it and going through the council and the whole parish. I mean, we had tried talking to a couple people.
And your belief is a resolution from the council would maybe...
Well, as the president said, he have a different vision on how to do it. So, you know, the political part of it is first I'll go to our legislature, you know, to create another law. I mean, that's better. I like that
I
one.
think if we go as Ascension Parish with 6 small lighting districts, we're not gonna carry a whole lot of clout with DOTD. Whereas if we go get a resolution to our delegation and they carry it to DOTD, it may carry a little more weight. That's my point.
would it, and I guess one of the questions that comes to my mind is maybe a way to kind of meet somewhere in the middle with this thing is, would they be willing to accept, kind of like what we've done, or to take kind of an offshoot of what the school board's done? They've gone out there and they've engineered one building that they cookie cutter, if you will, for their primary schools, and they do that. Would they be willing to possibly accept
That's what I was
No.
talking about.
one type of, do the engineering one time on a light to meet the maximum type deal and run that?
It's not the engineered on the light. It's where you're putting the lights. They want, when you're going to set up a bunch of lights, they want it engineered to show that it's not going to cause problems on the road or to the anything like that. So it's an individual project. So every time, if you would do a lighting district project where you were putting up 7 or 8 lights, then yeah, one engineering plan there. But if you do it and you move to another road, you got to do another plan.
And that's my problem. I mean,
It's a safety
I mean, I got
matter. It's
Highway
not a-
1, I got State
not a
Highway
building.
1.
It's a
Yeah,
safety
I mean,
issue.
I get that part of it, but I mean, part of one of the things that is, you know, whether it's the state or the federal government not realizing how much they're taxing municipalities or small lighting districts like this when they come up with those kind of rules. It is a safety issue and something you need to take into account, but do you have to go out there and hire an engineering firm to come up with those kind of, that
seems
kind of
like
information?
common
I think
sense
that's
to
kind of a
me.
little bit overkill, personally, but.
Would be to come up with some kind of globe or something that would fit over the light where it would not have the glare that would cause any problems in somebody seeing something. That seems like a simple solution to me.
Right.
But that may be too simple. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I
So,
mean,
anyway, but those are the kind of things that need to be looked into.
yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea to follow the administration's recommendation for a, resolution to our delegation in that fact. Now, whether or not y'all want to approve it now or whether you want to have it drafted and take a look at it first. But I mean, we'll approve the resolution to the council and get it drafted up for the next, for first meeting of next month.
That'll
That's acceptable.
Yeah, that'll work.
First meeting in October. We can do that, Mr. Parrington?
Yes.
Okay. So
All
I
right,
hear a
make
motion
the-
on that?
I make the motion that we. let
Motion by
administration
Councilman
draft.
Joseph, second by Councilman Sadlerly to have the administration draft a resolution to our delegation, state delegation, and have that ready for the full council endorsement at the first meeting in October. Any further discussion?
Nope. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
You're very welcome. Any objection? That item is moved on to the council. Mr. Ken Dawson for item number 10, Hillary Darrow Design Estimated Cost of Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our Chief Engineer, Jason Taylor, is going to go through the details of that. So as he comes up, he's going to give you a copy of kind of the actual proposed plan as far as installing sewer in those areas. As you know, it's a $5.2 million initial grant. And well, I want you to kind of know the cost numbers. Even though initially it may look like it exceeded it, there are certain bid options that's part of the grant that would allow for a reduction in actual costs, and I think that we get pretty close to spending exactly what we have. So with that, Jason, we'll go through the details.
We had our engineer come and do an estimate, and the projected estimate, as you can see, the projected cost was $6.048 million. The available construction funds are $4.28 million. So there's a $1.76 million deficit there if we go with the entire project. In order to handle that, we did some negotiations with the CBGB folks and came up with deductive alternates 1 and deductive alternates 2. So when we go through the bidding process, if you take out deductive alternate 1, it reduces that deficit down to $953,000. You take out deductive alternate 2, and it reduces it to $434,000. However, we found that whenever we did deductive alternate 2, it lowered the amount of sewer treatment needed, and we didn't have to increase the sewer treatment plant at the tune of about $800,000. Now, that is an estimate on that, and all of this is an estimate. So taking out the $800,000, the estimate of remaining grant funding for construction on this would be taking out deductive alternate 1, deductive alternate 2, and just doing the base bid is $365,000 remaining. So it's going to be an interesting bidding process for this because we have 2 separate deductive alternates. And then the house connection estimates, there's a separate set of funding for this for house connections. There's a $35,000 deficit if everyone qualifies for low income there for the house connections, and we would be responsible for that if we did the entire project. Taking out alternate 1, we have a $39,000 surplus, and then taking out 2, we have a $54,000 surplus on that set of funds. So there's a whole lot of pots here in this one particular grant, but the main thing to focus on is that when we do this, whenever we do this RFQ for this, the process for getting the grant funded and constructed, we estimate right now that we are not going to be able to do deductive alternate 1 and deductive alternate 2 within the grant fund. So if we as a parish wanted to do that, we could do that by paying the extra $1.7 million or whatever that's going to be. So that's that.
Let me add, there also may be some right-of-way issues that have come up recently. Your right-of-way for Highway 22 was done in 1939, and it has some weird language in it but we may be able to work through that without, but we have talked to the landowners. They feel that we don't have a right-of-way of what's there now. We're researching that, and we'll address that before that time, but we will have to do that before moving forward with anything. It may be very simple to solve the problem, but it may not be.
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand what we're saying here, Jason. So if we go through with the project as it is scoped here on the map that we're looking at, we're a shortfall of 4.2 million?
No.
Or shortfall of 1.76?
Right.
Okay.
If we chose after getting this is again, this is all estimates. If the bid comes in according to the estimate and we chose to do deductive alternate 1 and deductive alternate 2, it would be estimated at $1.7 million over the estimated funds. which is why we did deductive alternate 1 and deductive alternate 2.
But that's what you're saying for right now, is if we did everything on this page with deductive alternate 1 and 2, and it would not only take the grant money plus the $4.2 million in construction available funds, we would have to add another 1.7 to that pot?
No, sir. If you take out deductive alternate 1, deductive alternate 2, what we're calling the base bid, it is now a $365,000 surplus estimated.
Right.
So we would have that left over in the funding. We wouldn't be able to do anything with it, but we would have that left over in the funding, and nothing would come out of pocket for the parish.
Right, I understand that. So what we're saying is that, okay, we're on the same page. So basically, the grant is the 6 million, right?
No, the grant is the 4.28
The
million.
project
The
is
project,
6
okay, I
Project
got
is
you.
6
Okay,
million.
so the.
Project is 6
All right,
million.
that's where I was
I
confusing
didn't
it
know how
up.
to make this more clear on this.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah, it ain't necessarily you. I'm just making sure I'm understanding this thing, okay.
I thought the CDBG, didn't the president say it was 5.2 million?
That includes engineering, design, and project
So this
management
available
costs.
construction funds.
Yeah, available construction.
Okay, so if we take out alternate 1, we're short 953,000. If we take out the alternate 2, just alternate 2, correct, we're short 434, is that right?
Right, and then if
And then if we do both, we got a surplus of 365.
if you do, no, that's, if you remove deductive alternate, to remove
1 and
deductive
2.
alternate 1, you have already had to remove deductive 2. The reason why I put the next column separate was because there's a question as to whether or not we can remove that $800,000 as the treatment. I mean, I'm getting into the weeds here, so the treatment of the sewer system is very close to the capacity.
Right, I got that part.
So so that's why I put it as a separate column, so it would stand out.
I think what happened initially, DHA says that you have to treat based on the whole possible population of an area. Okay, so you really build a system that's really larger than what you need.
Right.
Okay, the grant group talked to CDBG again and said that when we recalculated the actual number that had to be treated, that number was reduced. Because initially we had like $60,000 to $80,000 under capacity, which is why we were looking at moving the Darrow plant over and doing some other things to enlarge the system. What we're saying now is that that may not be necessary because of the recalculation of the number of people that we actually have to treat the system that complies with DHH.
There's one more thing I'd like to say about this. This does not take into consideration what is going to need to eventually happen in all of our sewer systems, which is the secondary treatment of the sludge and the tertiary treatment. Well, it does some of that, but it doesn't take sludge in consideration. So that may be something that should be considered later on this, in my opinion.
And on that subject, so if we did the base bid, so you take the 2 alternates out, and the idea that you no longer are required to have the capacity of that extra 80,000 gallon system, we've had some preliminary estimates for that desludging and dewatering equipment that's come in somewhere very close to that $300,000 price range. So if we're contemplating the thought that design alternate 1 and 2 are out of this project because of the cost prohibitive nature of that, and we actually do realize this surplus in grant funding, the grant funding could actually provide us with that extra pieces of equipment to provide a true treatment system on all accounts for that area.
Very good. Councilman Joseph, you had some questions?
Okay, these numbers, what is the suggested income on this if we do all phases of this here? What was the income would be? Do we have a,
How many households are we picking up with this?
I have that on the actual map, but I don't have that with me tonight. I mean, I would be guessing to tell you the numbers, but I can get that, the actually map to show you all of the the potential customers that we're picking
Well,
up.
and the only reason why, we're looking at these numbers, and if our O&M costs, and we're gonna be making a surplus to make up some
Well, you're right.
expenses in the, take up some of the expenses, those the only reason why that
Yeah,
would be
the-
very important.
The extra housing, the actual people that are there is minimal compared to what is in the base bid. You're probably less than 50 houses in deductive alternate 1 and deductive alternate 2.
Yeah, I think that number's closer to like 30 additional houses
I
to
didn't
run,
want-
to
In
run
those
those,
two
those
areas?
two lines, or those two extra segments. And yeah, so that's another reason why it's not quite, I mean, it's cost prohibitive. And that number that you were asking about is very close to around 100 additional customers at the, $43.50, per month, per household kind of.
Okay.
4250 a month coming in then.
All right.
So,
I can probably scan that map and send it to all you guys. It expels out all of that in the whole area.
so what are we looking for tonight? Are we looking for a recommendation on
what's
what
your
we want to do?
recommendation?
Or what is y'all's recommendation that you think we need to do?
This was an
No, it was
informative.
just information. We
Just
wanted to get
information?
yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so it's basically we're taking on advisement, it's just information to let us know where we are at the project.
Just to let y'all all know, we actually have to bid the full package and then choose afterwards to remove.
Okay,
It's the way the grant works.
Yes.
Because we approached the grant on the full area, we have to, that's the reason why we had to go through all of this.
So I
Okay.
guess, Mr. Chairman, you're asking us to apply for the grant?
No.
No,
the
this
grant's
is-
already
this
applied
is
for. This is
simply-
basically
This
just
is
a-
simply just letting you know this is coming
information
up.
purposes only.
And I just wanted, just to keep y'all informed. That's all.
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right, we're just wanting to make sure. So, anything else? All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 11 is a dedication of revenue to fund debt service on the construction of the modified P16 area. President Martinez, you want me to kind of give a spiel or kind of lead off into this discussion? I guess basically what we've had here is we had a meeting a few weeks back with elected officials and some folks with DEQ, and we showed them the public presentation that we've been going around and showing to everybody, the few meetings that we've had with it. And at that time, Dr. Arpini with the DEQ was there and saw that what we would consider to be our first phase or the first part of the project for sewering, starting the east side of the river in conjunction with the Highway 73 and 42 projects like we've talked about in these meetings many a times, what our modified P16 is. And so initially we had an offer on the table of $18 million SRF loan. And that night, he graciously offered if we could justify it, and thinking that it would be not only a win for DEQ, but a win for the parish for us to get that part of it done, offered to bump up the $18 million SRF loan to 60, which would pretty much cover the initial cost of that modified P16 area. So at that time, President Martinez and administration started looking at the budget to see if there was any way possible we could secure that money for that project within the budget as it stands today. And my personal opinion, we don't have a whole bunch of people standing out there willing to throw $60 million at the parish for less than 1%. So I think it was prudent for him to do so. And I think what he's going to present to us now is a potential way of handling that debt service on that $60 million. So is that a fair assessment, President Martinez? You want to add to that, or?
Well, the only thing is we're not guaranteed at this point the
Right.
60 million. I mean, I'm asking you tonight to apply for the 60 million. Basically, what we had to show was if we were able to get this loan, did we have the capacity to pay it back? And so we started looking at the budget, and basically what we did was said, yes, we can do so. It'll take $3.3 million a year. We will take that basically out of general fund, which general fund is basically a 1 cent sales tax. and that would be sufficient to pay the debt service. I feel very comfortable that we can do this. Basically, in the past, I mean, we're not creating any new money. I would just tell you, I'm not finding a new pot of money to do this. Basically, we've had surpluses in the past. We've budgeted very, very conservatively, and we feel like we're gonna continue, especially over the next 5 to 10 years, to have record taxes coming in with the amount of projects that we have on the books, and we should, if we continue budgeting very conservatively, we should have a surplus at the end of the year. In the past, we basically every year, every so often, we would take that pot and we would divide it up. We divide it up to recreation, 25% like this year, 25% to utilities, and 50% any excess to roads. Well, this year, we're not going to break the general fund. We're going to take that money, any surpluses, and dedicate 3/4 of that money to paying this loan off. Putting the money back into the general fund to replenish it, so we would not be hurting it or taking $3.5 million out without putting the money back in. So, bottom line is that this is not new money that we've created. This is not some magic wand that I waved and we found $3.5 million. But I just find that this opportunity is something that won't come around again. I mean, I don't think I'd love to do it on roads. If somebody would offer me $60 million to do roads with 0.9% interest, I would certainly jump on that at this point. But right now, I guess about 30 years ago, we had an opportunity to do sewer and water at 90%, and the federal money would be put up and 10% match. We chose not to take advantage of that. I guess the leaders of that time chose not to do so. I think that this is an opportunity that we can't let slide by. I don't think we're going to get many more, and I think it puts us where we need to be in the sewer business. I don't think anybody. Sewer is not a glamorous thing. It's not something that we all look at on an everyday basis. But time is near, and time is coming where a lot of our streams now are impaired, and we certainly need to do something about it. We need to, for the quality of life here in Ascension Parish, and also to be able to continue to grow, because if not, you won't be able to get permits to build houses. You won't get permits to build businesses here because you won't be able to dump into the streams. So we have to find a way to get that sewer out of the streams and put it into a large, to treat it and put it into a larger stream. So, I just think it's time that we act, and it's something that needs to be done. And I applaud DQ for working with us on this. I applaud you guys for being patient and working. Benny, I know you've been working on this, and this whole committee's been working on trying to come up with a way to fund a sewer project. And it just wasn't any easy way. $18 million would have just teased us a little bit, but that was something that previous secretary and Senator Jody Amadei had come to us with, and it was certainly something that we appreciated, but we just couldn't make it work. We also have been talking to some of the operators in the area, and I know there's a couple of them that are having problems at this time with DEQ and also financial problems, and hopefully in our plan that we can acquire a couple of those systems and work with the other major player here in Ascension Parish. So, I think the timing is right, and opportunity is here, and it's certainly something that we need to do here in the parish as far as infrastructure. I mean, we can't keep growing if we don't start looking into what the needs are and our infrastructure needs. And that's all I have to say.
And I agree with you. One of the things in talking to DEQ that, and I asked this question to them, and they said that I could paraphrase them, if you will, was that this gives them an option now, part of the question that we've all talked about and had questions raised to us is with the issues that we've had with the private entities or the problems we have in the parish with waste treatment. It's kind of, they don't have an alternative. It's basically deal with those guys, try to bring them into compliance and so forth and so on. But with this starts to give them options to do things to get a little bit more aggressive or get a little bit more to the point of where they can hold the private entities' feet to the fire to do something with their systems. And so I think it's a good first step. I think it's something that we can go after and move the parish forward and get an area of the parish that is in need. We're all in need of it, but we can get into an area of the parish that has a lot of growth in that area, and we can make a difference by getting a lot of individual point sources or tail lines out of the ditches and into a collection system that we can treat it and get it to where DEQ wants us to, which is in the Mississippi River. I applaud you for doing what you've done and looking at it and coming up with this innovative idea, and open the floor up for comments.
Councilman, can I add one thing?
Certainly.
Dr. Iapino called. I mean, they have not offered us $60 million. There may be $60 million, there's a potential of $60 million, maybe the semantics, but there is a $60 million available to us if we have the funding, if we have the engineering plan, but this is a long way from us being offered a $60 million loan. He wanted to make that clear, that there may have been some, he called Ken and I yesterday because he said there's something going around that we've offered y'all a loan. We've offered y'all nothing. Y'all have to do a plan, financial plan, engineering plan, and if that fits, you may be eligible for that loan.
Okay,
He wants to
that
make
may be my misinterpretation of
wants
what
to
he
make sure
said, and
that's
that's fine.
clear, because
I
DEQ
realize
is
we've
not
got
going
some things we've got to get through to make all this happen, and that's more than likely my misinterpretation of what we were told. President Martinez?
Just excited, Mr.
That's right.
Chairman, that's all, just excited, the 60 million.
And we,
Just-
we had some long discussions in the past week, and I want everybody to kind of understand. I think I've described how this scenario will play out. Basically, what we will do, we apply for the loan. DEQ is going to basically like the 18 million. They'll approve or disapprove our application, and at that point, if they approve it, it would actually be about 9 months before we actually can draw down on the money. And during that 9-month period, that's when you come up with your engineering plan and all your other plans, and you make sure that your EIS, environmental impacts, and all that stuff are taken care of, your funds, and so it's a 9-month period. In the first 2 years, you don't have to pay anything back on the loan. You just pay the interest and administration of it, which amounts to the 0.95%. So that's basically how the process will work. Now, we do have ample funds to go ahead and do the engineering in our utilities budget, to do the engineering and preliminary stuff that we need to do. So, I think if we can get through this process, and tonight, if you can get us through the application, approve the application, and tomorrow night maybe the council approve the application and go forward with this. And once we get approved, I think that we get the ball rolling, and then probably 9 months from now, we will start drawing down the money. And as I said, you don't pay for it. You don't pay for any interest on anything that you don't draw down.
Right.
So
First 2 years, right?
okay.
Mr. Joseph? You had something? Or
let Doc,
Councilman Sadler?
Let me go in the hot seat first. It just strikes me this is absolutely wonderful, and maybe I've heard a few rumors too that are wrong or need to be put to rest tonight. But I'm curious, what legal counsel has said. If we have the funding and if we have an engineering plan, I'm confident the president said we have the funding. I'm not sure, because it's a pre-application. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Martinez, that we have to even tell the DEQ right now exactly where the money is coming from, but as much as we have to say we have it, and of course, I'm confident our engineers can come up with a plan, and then that makes me hopeful that they'll look upon it as favorably as they would have looked upon it if we were still asking for the 18 million on the SRF versus this new amount of money at 60. But to be sure, I'm not sure it was mentioned in the record, and the public is out there listening tonight. Is this for a 20-year, $60 million loan?
Yes, 20 years.
Okay, and so 20 years, and the interest rate is still the same as it was for the.
Let me clarify that. It's
0.95%?
22 years actually, because for the first 2 years, then you'll have 20 years to pay for it. But you can, you could stretch it to 22 if you needed to.
Well, again, and
Or
if
you
funded.
could cut it down to 18 if you like.
If funded, then I would agree with our chairman and the president. I don't know how we could possibly let this go by. This is exactly what I wished for. And it lends, I want to say, some other elements that I've already discussed with the president and our chairman, and actually the full council chairman, an ability to get the public a little bit more behind us. We all believe that they should be 100% behind this anyway, in terms of trust factor and so forth, because they're, as the president said, not going to be brushing their knuckles on any more money in terms of going for a tax or anything to start this out. To be clear, it won't obviously solve the entire parish-wide problems, but it would be one heck of a start. Let's put back in the record so the people understand. We already have pipes in the ground, and as we heard in reports early tonight, soon to be completed on Highway 73. Push back a little bit on 42 in the letting, but we're going to have those pipes. I'm sure some of this money in the engineering will connect the two through 61, and in the actual $60 million, let's remind everyone that goes back to what GSA said it would cost to put a modern-day, state-of-the-art facility, maybe somewhere on Highway 70, 30, in that area, to go to the Mississippi River, which I know the DEQ likes. So it looks like just all the way around, just what the doctor ordered. And I don't mean me. I'm a small player in all this, and I say that honestly, but it's exactly what I'd like to see happen, because I want to tell my constituents tonight, if this happens and we go through with it, the next time I'm going to be talking to you guys, it's not going to be so much cap in hand as much as me telling you, look, y'all wanted the parish to do this, but you wanted us to do it with existing resources. Well, that's exactly what the president and Chairman Johnson is proposing here tonight. And so I don't know if we're going to have more discussion, but I'm willing right now to, because it would be my pleasure to make a motion. And particularly, let me say this: I've told Councilman Laura and Johnson, our two chairmen involved in this, that unfortunately I won't be in town tomorrow night. Commitment was made 3 or 4 months ago. I'll be out of town for 4 days in a row, beginning tomorrow in Georgia. So I won't be able to vote on that, but I'd love to make a motion tonight that we go ahead and move this resolution for a pre-application for the SRF funding with all the things that I just mentioned toward the full council. If it's not on their agenda, I believe it is actually, that they would hopefully smile upon it. Obviously, if I'm not going to be here, I can't vote because we don't have any proxy abilities, and so forth. But I would hope that Mr. Johnson or Mr. Laura would say Doc spoke favorably of it and looked like he would have supported it had he physically been present to do that vote. But with that, then I would make the motion tonight that we empower that we bring this resolution as it's written in our packet to the full council and begin this project.
Well, we're almost there. That's on the next item for the resolution, but we're talking about is the funding right now.
Do we need a motion on the funding, sir?
So I guess the question from the administration and what we had talked about in the past was whatever we need to do. I know once we get the loan, we'll be locked in to the funding. Would you like a recommendation in the form of a motion that we dedicate this funding out of the budget, general fund for this project? That's what I would like to do.
Well, this is fine, but when we present the budget, it's already in the budget. That's going to be by ordinance. At that time, I think it would be appropriate to go ahead and dedicate it. So I don't know if you want to take a different action now, but you could say that night that there's $3.2 million dedicated to. So,
Okay,
but
so
either way,
we'll wait.
Either
That's
way
fine.
you want to handle it.
That's fine. Mr. Parrington, it's like you got something on
Yes,
this.
I did speak we spoke to the lady with DEQ yesterday. I mean, this is gonna have to go to bond commission anyway, so because you're incurring debt, and I think the way to do it is whatever is required at that time from the bond commission, because when you're incurring debt and you're also dedicating money. So it may be the easiest way to do it at that time, when, in the budget, like the parish president said, but also when you go ahead and do your bond, you'll say where the money's coming from.
And I guess part of this thing too is, I want to make sure it's there, as concrete as I can get it there, number one. And number two is that, we're not guaranteed anything, and I realize we got to go through the process with DEQ set forward, but is there any way to run multiple paths with this thing? Is there anything that we can do today and through the council tomorrow that we could maybe start the action of the bond council to kind of run a parallel path, so that way, the day we get the approval through DEQ or we get the acceptance from DEQ that we have this money, we don't have to start that process at that point of doing the bond council and waiting another 60, 90 days or whatever. I mean, I want to call it fast tracking, but I don't want to sit here and wait months and months when we could be kind of running multiple paths and taking care of things.
And we've already talked to bond counsel.
Okay.
Bond counsel is gonna start drafting papers and stuff in the event that we do get approved here. That's something that we can work ahead on. And also, if you wanted to take another step ahead, you could do your RFQs and things for your engineers to get the plan in place, because we're gonna pay for that anyway. If we were talking about a plan,
Right.
but we're gonna do a plan one way or the other, but you could go ahead and do the RFQs to actually do the entire P16 area.
Oh, and this is me talking, and gentlemen, if y'all disagree, let me know. Why don't we go ahead and work on the RFQs and all that, and whatever we need paperwork-wise, and as soon as we get that documentation ready, we will call another meeting of this body and get that approved and get it on the council agenda as soon as reasonable to get that done. So like I said, we can run multiple paths at the same time with this thing, and I prefer that we do that to where, like I said, we're not waiting on anything. We can kind of get this done as soon as possible. As soon as possible. It's something of importance, and it's something that I
Be
think
very
is
proactive. When you come out of this tonight, we'll start, and tomorrow night, after tomorrow night, once we see that the full council agrees, we're gonna put it on, everything on a fast track.
very good. Any other comments on this part of this agenda item? Councilman Joseph?
Yeah, I just want to make the statement that this is P16. This is not the whole parish. This is P16. And if you don't know what P16 cover, please go to our website. Understand if you're in the P16 area, because it's just like we say, rumors start that we are doing the whole parish for $60 million. That ain't gonna happen. Okay, so we just want to make sure the public is educated on this, where we at, and as Doc and Benny and all us know, we're gonna have to go back to the public for further future projects. So, yeah, we all excited about this here, but P16 is a Pacific area. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Kluwat?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody once more, like OJ, this is P16 area, but what we are doing is basically under some of the restrictions we're seeing as a parish and have been for several years. We're under the same governing regulations as everybody else, the private guys, everybody with DEQ. So by working the most populated areas on the east side of the river right now and trying to get that under control, we are going to reduce our effluent, into the rivers and clean up the streams, and and that's the whole goal of all this, okay? And this is going to continue on for years and years and years, and as the population grows and places grow, be more sewer systems. But what we got to do is we got to start this motion, get it going forward to clean up our streams, clean up our waterways, clean up our ditches. I mean, I know I chair drainage right now. I have ditches that got to be cleaned out every 3 years. Without the sewer effluent into those ditches, you're probably looking at close to 10 years. That's a heck of a savings, And not only that, it's in neighborhoods where kids play, and people try to fish in a stream where the sewage ditches are going into. That's all, sir.
Thank you. All righty. So we've got this on the agenda for the council meeting tomorrow night for discussion, and we've also got the next item on there as a resolution for submission for pre-application. So moving on to item 12, we have a resolution for submission of a pre-application for the SRF funding. Basically, not to rehash, is what we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes or so. Do we have a copy of that resolution?
It's in
It's in the package, that's right, it's in the back.
last
Okay.
page.
See, I'm forgetting where I'm at. Okay. I'll go ahead and read it. Resolution authorizing the Ascension Parish President Tommy Martinez to submit a pre-application to the Department of Environmental Quality on behalf of the Parish of Ascension for the purpose of placing projects on the project priority list for funding through the State Revolving Loan Fund Program for the wastewater plant improvements and force mains additions. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is in need of a wastewater treatment facility, force main additions, and other wastewater improvements as may be needed to provide wastewater treatment to the citizens of Ascension Parish. Whereas loans and/or grants for this project may be available through the State Revolving Fund Loan Program operated by the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, and now therefore be it duly resolved by Ascension Parish Council that Ascension Parish President Tommy Martinez is hereby authorized to submit a pre-application to the Department of Environmental Quality on behalf of the Parish of Ascension for the purpose of placing this project on the project priority list for funding through the State Revolving Fund Loan Program, and Tommy Martinez, Ascension Parish President, is further authorized to furnish such additional information as may reasonably be requested in connection with the pre-application, and Tommy Martinez, Ascension Parish President, is hereby designated as official project representative for Ascension Parish government for any project that may result from the submission of the pre-application. This resolution was duly adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on this day. So that's set up for tomorrow for the full council. I'd like a motion to send this with our full endorsement of this committee to the council for tomorrow night.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sadler.
I don't know if I need to withdraw my earlier motion under item 11, but it's because it's under 12, but I'll make the same motion that I tried to make and apologize for showing my level of excitement again for this project. But I move that we submit this resolution for pre-application, as you've just read it, for SRF funding to the full parish council.
We have a motion from Councilman Sadler. You have a second?
Yes, this is what the doctor ordered. I second it.
A second by Councilman
didn't do that,
Kluwer.
Randy.
Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, that motion is passed. Again, thanks everybody for the hard work on this effort. I think it's the first step in a long journey in the right direction. Motion, item number 13.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Councilman Sadler, second by Councilman Joseph. We are adjourned.